The Future Leaders Gavel Club is a Toastmasters club open to middle school and high school students in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Each meeting has 3 parts: a prepared speech section, a table topics or impromptu speaking section, and an evaluation section. And to start our meeting tonight, I would like to introduce our Toastmaster of the night, Rachel, who will be guiding us through each segment. Rachel, take it away.
Good evening, Cavaliers. We are definitely going to have a very good meeting tonight, and we are going to start off this meeting with speech one, which will be given by Alex. And I'm not sure if he has a speech title or introduction, but take it away, Alex.
Thank you, Rachel. And yeah, I can just tell you guys my title real quick. My title is The Impact of Racist Jokes in Our School. And this is also a topic that was brought up to me in one of my classes. So I thought it would be interesting to talk about it. So, hello, future leaders. Today, I want to talk about a serious issue that affects our school community: racist jokes. At first glance, these jokes may seem like harmless banter, a way to get a laugh or lighten the mood. But the truth is, they can have profound and damaging effects on individuals and our community as a whole. Let's start by understanding what I mean by racist jokes. These are comments or humor that stereotype individuals based on their race or ethnicity. While they may be delivered in a lighthearted manner, they perpetuate harmful stereotypes and foster an environment where discrimination is tolerated. We must recognize that words carry weight, and when those words are rooted in racism, they can create a ripple effect that impacts many. Imagine a student sitting in a cafeteria, hearing a racist joke. For that student, it's not just a punchline, it's a reminder of the prejudice they face. It's a moment that can make them feel more isolated, less valued, or even ashamed of who they are. This isn't about one joke. It's about the cumulative effect on such remarks that can lead to feelings of alienation and hurt. Racist jokes can lead to a culture of exclusion. They create an atmosphere where it's acceptable to mock and belittle others. This culture not only hurts those who are targeted, but can also affect bystanders. While we remain silent in the face of such humor, we inadvertently condone it. This can create a school environment where some feel unwelcome or unsafe, contradicting our values of respect and inclusion. Moreover, these jokes contribute to a broader societal problem. They normalize racism and prejudice, making it seem acceptable in our daily interactions. This is particularly concerning because the attitudes we cultivate here can shape how we view and treat others in the future. We are preparing ourselves to be future leaders, and it's our responsibility to promote values of empathy and understanding. I want to emphasize the power of humor. Laughter can unite us, break down barriers, and foster friendships. But when that humor is directed at someone's identity, it becomes a tool of division. We must ask ourselves, what kind of community do we want to be? Do we want to be a school where jokes at the expense of others are tolerated? Or do we want to create an environment where everyone feels valued and respected? So, what can we do? We need to be more proactive in addressing this issue. First, speak up. If you hear a racist joke, don't just let it slide. Speak up. Let your peers know that such humor is not funny. It's harmful. This doesn't mean confronting someone in an aggressive way, but rather expressing that their words matter and can hurt others. Second, educate yourself and others. Understanding the history and impact of racism can help us recognize why certain jokes are offensive. Knowledge is power, and the more we learn, the better equipped we are to challenge prejudice attitudes. Foster inclusivity. Let's create spaces where everyone feels safe and included. Organize events, discussions, or activities that celebrate our diversity and promote understanding among different cultures and backgrounds. Finally, be a role model. We have the power to influence those around us. By being mindful of our own language and actions, we can set an example for our peers. Let's choose humor that uplifts rather than diminishes. As a member of this community, we must recognize to being allies. We have the power to shape our school culture into one that prioritizes respect, kindness, and understanding. It's up to us to stand together against racism, not just in our words, but in our actions. So, in conclusion, let's strive to be a community that celebrates diversity and fosters understanding. Remember, laughter is best when it brings us together, not when it tears us apart. Together, we can create an environment where everyone feels respected and valued. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. That was a really outstanding speech with a message that we all need to hear because inappropriate jokes such as racist jokes are a bit too prevalent nowadays and they need to be stopped. Next, we will have speaker 2, Caleb, giving his speech called My Chinese Language Learning Journey. Today, he will be sharing his journey toward mastering Mandarin Chinese. Please help me welcome Caleb.
你好，你可以说中文吗? Imagine you have been studying a language for over 10 years, but you still have just a rudimentary vocabulary. You can perhaps say your name, how long you've been learning, and a few more random things. But that's about it. A year ago, that was me. I had been learning Chinese since I was 5, going to Chinese school every Saturday, having a tutor once a week. Yet, I could not express myself in Mandarin. I still vividly remember a Mandarin gathering that I attended last August. The people there were from mainland China, and I could not understand anything that they were saying. Maybe I could pick out a word here and there, but the context was lost. When I tried to communicate with them, express myself in Mandarin, I discovered that I had no vocabulary base to communicate with. Imagine my frustration. This many years learning the Chinese language and perhaps saying that I speak Chinese, but in reality, unable to communicate with your everyday native Chinese speaker. In reality, I couldn't speak Chinese. My frustration sparked in me a burning desire to find a way to improve my Chinese language skills. And today, I want to share 3 tips that revolutionize my language learning that you can apply not only to learning Chinese, but also to any language that you aspire to learn. The first tip is to have the right tools. Every language is brimming with vocabulary, and I wondered, how do you learn all that vocabulary effectively? I got serious. I downloaded the Plico Chinese Dictionary app from the App Store. Here, you can look up words that you want to learn, find out their definitions. Great. Now I can look up words in Chinese. But I needed to find a way to memorize them so I could actually use them in daily conversation. I spent endless hours on the internet, searching for the best way to memorize Chinese vocabulary. And the number one method is to use flashcards, but a specific type of flashcard, spaced repetition flashcards. SRS flashcards basically review words just before you forget them, improving your retention and making learning more efficient. Guess what? I discovered that the Plico Chinese Dictionary had a built-in SRS flashcard program. It was my one-stop station, 我的中文一站式. And then I thought, aha, now I have a way to memorize vocabulary into my long-term memory. So let's just say I put 15 new cards from a common word list into my pool each day, and I spend just 15 minutes a day, every day, reviewing flashcards. At the end of the year, 15 words times 365 days will equal over 5,000 new vocabulary words, on top of the words that I already know. This is simple. I will have all the vocabulary I need to know within a year. So I zealously reviewed flashcards for several months. Every new word I encountered, simply add it to the pool. My philosophy was that I'll eventually learn. But several months later, I was still having great difficulties communicating in Chinese. Yes, when I would see a character in my flashcard pool and I recalled it, I would click, yes, good. But when I wanted to use that particular word in a conversation, I couldn't recall it. Once again, I was frustrated. And once again, I spent hours endlessly sifting through blog articles, forum posts, and Reddit threads. And finally, one day on a Reddit thread, there was a link to a website, ChineseTheHardWay.com. And in this simple but brilliant website, I found my answer. Yes, flashcards were key, but the website told me that I was missing something critical, which brings me to my next point. Have the right method. After going to the website, I realized what I was missing: native content. Let me give you a quick analogy. One of my cousins here in California is a junior lifeguard, which means that he can run a mile and then swim a mile in the Pacific Ocean. How do you prepare to swim a mile in the Pacific Ocean? Maybe you can start by doing laps in a swimming pool. But the problem is there's a huge gap between being able to swim a mile in a swimming pool and being able to swim a mile in the Pacific Ocean. How are you going to learn to deal with the winds, the waves, and the current constantly pulling at you? The answer is that you have to start swimming in the ocean. No matter how slowly or how hard it is, you have to start learning in the environment you want to be able to master. The same principle applies when learning a language. Maybe you are learning a language from a textbook. That's great. You need to know how to swim. You need to understand the basics of a language. But if you want to watch the news, read novels, or converse fluently, at some point, when you have enough knowledge and experience, you need to start swimming in the ocean. Start exposing yourself to the high-level vocabulary, advanced sentence patterns, and cultural references, things that you would not find in a textbook. So I went to the Chinese TV website. I clicked on the news report. I watched the video. I could not understand anything. But then I used a free app to download the video, and I got the audio. Then I created a Chinese transcript through the website turboscribe.ai. Now I had words that I could read that went along with the news report. I would read the transcript, and when I got to a word that I didn't know, I would study the word, write it down in a notebook, and add it to my flashcard pool. When I got to 10 words that I didn't know, I would stop. The next day, I did the same. Guess what? In a short manner of time, I was able to read the entire news transcript, watch the video, and understand everything that was being said. Not only that, having a context with which to remember the words was key. And I found myself, out of nowhere, pulling out vocabulary words that I had learned in Chinese school or elsewhere, simply because now I had a context with which to remember them. But the last, most important tip is perhaps the most simple, yet the hardest one to follow through with. And that is to practice every day. Everyone tells you to practice daily, and you will become better at whatever you are trying to learn. The same goes for learning a language. I decided that if I was serious about improvement, I needed to find time every day to practice. I gave myself 30 minutes a day to practice. It didn't matter where I was. I would bring my tablet everywhere and practice. And in those 30 minutes every day, I would read through an article out loud, learn new words, and review the words with flashcards. And it worked. Within a month, I had noticed significant improvement. By 3 months, I was amazed at how much I had progressed. I felt like Yugong, the man in the Chinese parable who moved mountains through simple perseverance. In the Chengyu, Yugong Yishan. I realized that with just a little time and effort, I was able to move the mountains of my inability to comprehend the Chinese language and create an effective path to mastery. So what about you? What mountain are you trying to move? Perhaps like me, you want to learn a language, or perhaps you have an even greater, grander goal ahead of you. I wanted to give this speech so that you can benefit without going through the struggle and frustration that I went through in order to find a way to learn a language effectively. But the concept can be applied to anything that you set your mind to learn. Have the right tools, have the right method, and practice every day. If you persevere, you will see great results. 如果你坚持一下，你就会看到好的结果。还给主持人。
谢谢, Caleb. That was a really good speech, and I think we can all learn from that. And those are some skills that I could implement myself being a Chinese student. And this is my last year of learning Chinese, so I really need to work hard. Now we will be moving on to the table topic session, which will be led by Janya.
Thank you, Rachel. So I will be sending a few clothing brands or shoe brands that are pretty famous, I think. And yeah, it seemed like the last time I did my table topics, it was on phone brands, but this time it's on shoes and clothing. I sent the list in the chat box. So Claire, would you like to go first?
Sure, thank you, Janya. All right. Nike is famous for its popular slogan, just do it. I even have a shirt that says big on the front, just do it. Imagine that Nike, the shoe brand, was actually a person. Someone guiding you through your life, always stuck in your head, reminding you to just do it. How would they help to guide, influence, and even motivate you throughout your life? If you always had that reminder of just do it. Well, this is a struggle that I'm sure many people have faced, including myself. Sometimes we struggle with taking action on things that we're nervous about, we doubt ourselves on about, or we just don't know what to do about. However, by consistently reminding ourselves that we do have the capabilities to face these challenges, and instead of focusing on the problems or how immense the challenge is, instead we can focus on the solutions and how we can overcome those challenges and just do it. So if Nike was a person, I'm sure they would be a great motivator and influencer of allowing us to find those solutions and always think, just do it. Thank you, and back to you, Janya.
Thank you, Claire, and I hope Nike becomes a person soon. And Michelle, would you like to go next?
Yeah, but may I know the instructions for the table topics?
I sent a list of shoe brands or clothing brands in the chat, and you could pick one of them and talk about them.
Okay, I'll talk about Puma. Now, Puma is something I wear regularly. I wear their pants to school. I wear their shoes everywhere I go. Now, Puma themselves is an amazing brand and is also very popular for the stuff they make and for being them. Their branding is smart because it's a Puma and their name is Puma in general. And for their clothing, I believe from my personal experience is very comfortable to wear, and of course I'm not gonna be fighting for my life trying to put on those jeans or pants in general. Skinny jeans. But they're also very reliable for clothing in general. Sports clothing, casual, just a regular day for school. Yeah, Puma's come to my life and has entered and been useful as hell. And it will never ever exit my life until I perish and turn into a pile of ashes. And back to you, Jonya.
Thank you, Michelle. And William, would you like to go next?
Thank you for the opportunity, Janya. Yes, I will. I will choose Louis Vuitton. Okay, here goes. In the first day of my 10th grade year, I walked into what I would know as the history teacher's room. The teacher was a guy, a rather corpulent man named Mr. Valcorza. His parents had immigrated to the US from the Philippines in the late 70s. And guess what? His parents were also the friends of the late Philippine dictator, Ferdinand Marcos. The reason why they had fled to America was because they realized that, well, Marcos and his dictatorship wouldn't be surviving for much longer. So they hightailed it out there with a bunch of lump sums of cash. Mr. Valcorza was raised under very affluent circumstances, and his love of luxury items carried with him as he became an adult. And even today, as I go back to his room and thank him for helping me succeed in APUSH and in world history, uh, to say hi to him every so often, I'm always reminded by Louis Vuitton because he's always wearing Louis Vuitton shoes, a Louis Vuitton belt, Louis Vuitton shirt. So it's very luxurious indeed. And whenever he jokes about gift giving to the class, and don't get me wrong, he is an excellent teacher. He always jokes, you know, stop giving me all of these gift cards to Starbucks, to Panera Bread. I can't eat any of that. Do you look at, have you seen my body shape? I can't take any of that. So, you know what would be nice though? A Louis Vuitton gift card. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, William. And Alex.
Yep. Give me a second. Need to choose a brand. Okay. I got mine. I'll be talking about Zara. Zara, maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't know. It's not necessarily regarded as highly as Louis Vuitton, Dior, or Prada, but it's still pretty nice. And one of my favorite shirts is an off-white Zara shirt that says Sunset Day on it. I've worn this shirt for more than a year now, and no matter what, I always seem myself to be coming back. It always gives me such felicity. It makes me so happy every time I put it on. And that made me think, this was a pretty expensive shirt, $30, and that gives me felicity.
But that also made me think about the others who aren't as privileged. And maybe the cheap thrifted shirt that someone else got could give them the same felicity as my nice $30 shirt. It made me think, and it makes me grateful that I have all the things, but it also makes me look that no matter where you are, how comfortable you are in terms of money, the small things can bring you great happiness, like an expensive or a cheap shirt. And that truly taught me a great lesson about gratitude and how you can be grateful for anything.
Thank you, Alex. Rachel, would you like to go?
I will be talking about Gucci because I feel like it. If you want to get really into the high fashion, Gucci is the way to go because let's face it, the brand Gucci is synonymous with high fashion and the best quality clothes. It seems like mostly really rich people get to buy from Gucci, and a lot of celebrities are known for wearing clothes from the Gucci brand. Even Korean celebrities are some Korean celebrities wear clothes from the brand, and it's very unique because the designs of the products are very unique, um, and very different from other brands, and the materials used to make the items are also pretty different. So that's how they're able to charge so much for these products, and I'm sure many people would like to buy from Gucci even though it's not possible for a lot of people, but if you're aspiring to buy from Gucci, then you best get to work and get a high-paying job.
Thank you, Rachel. Um, Ethan, would you like to go?
Oh, well, has anybody talked about Prada yet? No. Okay, well, I guess I'll choose that, but not because I own any products. In fact, I am the polar opposite of somebody who is interested in fashion at all. In fact, I haven't even heard of at least 40% of the brands in your list. I've heard of 60% of, and I've heard of 60% of them, but I actually own probably only 30% of them. And I personally own products for maybe not even 20%, maybe more like 15% of them. So I'm the polar opposite of somebody who is interested in fashion. Now, my interpretation of previous responses is that I can give any commentary I see fit about the fashion brand I've chosen. So I'm going to talk about Prada. And be warned, this may trigger some of you who like fashion a lot more than I do, but I have, I have a strong belief that at least partially some of my disjointness towards fashion, maybe because I just don't really like it that much. Me personally, I don't think that trying to pursue exorbitantly expensive, if pretty looking clothing is not necessarily a very useful or engaging hobby. And also, you know what's even worse? Sometimes high fashion isn't even about the quality, it's about the branding. For example, there is a fairly recent story about a shoe brand that started with a P. I forgot what its exact name was, but they decided to do a little social experiment. Normally, this shoe store offers their products at very low prices, low tens of dollars for a single pair of pretty decent quality shoes. In this social experiment, they decided to invent an entirely new brand of high fashion, deliberately designed so that the name of this brand sounded similar to the name of the store. Again, I forgot what the exact name of the store is, but I know that this story is actually real. After creating this brand, they rented a space in a high-end shopping mall and decorated it extremely lavishly. They had all the gold decorations, the metallic surfaces, the nice 90-degree angles, the black marble, and even some marble statues to top it all off. And then they lined the display cases with some of their high-heeled shoes and other products that they normally sell in their stores for very cheap. And then they decided to invite a whole bunch of fashion influencers. They come over here and review some of these supposedly new high fashion shoes. And a lot of them were raving about the quality. They were like, wow, these are so good. And some of them were paying upwards of $600 to $800 for a single pair of these shoes, until the store realized that the shoes are actually worth not even half, not even a third, not even a tenth, but 1/20th of the price that some of those fashion influencers are paying for their shoes. 1/20th. Do you guys know what log base 10 of 20 is? I can calculate it for you right now. 1.3 orders of magnitude overpaid. So, what is the moral of my small rant about high fashion? Is that sometimes it's not all about the quality. Sometimes it's about the branding. And if you ever decide to become interested in this sort of thing, which I have no judgment against if you decide to take high fashion as a hobby, but I think that this is a fair warning. Sometimes the branding might matter more than the quality. And you need to be aware of this if you ever go out into the real world and decide to pursue high fashion as an interest. Back to you, John.
Thank you, Ethan. And I agree with the price doesn't matter with the quality, it matters with the brand. I think hand control back to the general evaluator.
Thank you, Jania, for that table topic session about clothing brands and shoe brands, and that we all got to share our knowledge about the brands, or our unknowledge in some cases. Now we will be moving on to speech one evaluator, who is, one second, Ethan.
All right. Yeah. More specifically, evaluator -e to the pi I, but that's besides the point. So I'll be evaluating Alex's speech on how we can deal with racist jokes at school. Now, I want everybody first to notice that Alex is actually the basic mechanics of Alex's speech were actually quite well satisfied today. With respect to with respect to his voice, his usage of gestures, the relevance of the topic, and his conduct, he did very well. I'm sure everybody noticed that he was. I'm sure everybody noticed that he was very skilled with his voice control, and also he used some gestures, even though it's very obvious that he's sitting down. And using gestures when you're sitting down is quite an awkward thing to do sometimes. And also the relevance of the topic, because as I'm sure we're aware, racism is still not totally a thing of the past. It still exists, even though we've passed constitutional amendments and laws to try to deal with it in this country. So it was a relevant topic. And he also emanated an atmosphere befitting of a leader during his speech. There's no other better way to put it. So pardon my use of very academic sounding vocabulary. One point that he may use to help better his speech is to potentially make the speech less hypothetical. And by that, I mean, give more real world example of how racist jokes or racist humor have impacted students at certain schools. Because one thing I noticed about his speech was that real world examples were of a comparatively low proportion than, say, in a news article that would be talking about the same topic. His speech was mostly hypothetical. That is not to say, though, that it was a bad speech. It was a very good speech, but that is a potential note of improvement that I wanted to share. Back to the general evaluator, Rachel.
Thank you, Ethan. That was very constructive feedback, and I like the idea of sharing examples when talking about an issue like this. Now we will be hearing from the speech two evaluator, who is Michelle.
Thank you, General Evaluator Rachel. Yes. My Chinese learning journey As a as a Chinese speaker myself, I could understand everything you said fluently. Maybe except the first part because you kind of said it choppily. But let's start with my evaluation, obviously. But to start off, you excelled at starting off strong by saying in Chinese, "Hello, can you speak Chinese?" or something along the words of that. And you talk about how at first you struggle in your journey, struggling to speak or learn it. Then in the middle, you teach us about how you learned and made it around those roadblocks and how we can learn ourselves in our own journeys. You also excelled at showing gestures. I saw a lot of those, and addressing the audience. I believe you also did that. Now, as a prophetic person myself, I don't have anything that you could work on or challenge yourself on. Everything seemed to be fine in the speech, in my opinion, but that's only mine. And I just want to add this, but I timed your speech and it was around 9 minutes. Or for me, I got 8 minutes and 47 seconds with 85 milliseconds. I'm such a nerd. But anyways, back to you, Rachel.
Thank you, Michelle, for the feedback about more than one thing. One of those things being the time. And welcome to the Club of Chinese Speaking Gaveliers. Now we will be moving on to the Agrammarian report, which will be given by Claire.
Thank you, Rachel. I will start off with speaker one, who was Alex. Alex gave a great speech today. He had very impactful phrases like ripple effect, and I loved how he just used a variety of adjectives as well as transition words. It flowed very nicely. And then for Caleb, who was speaker two, he had a lot of very impactful phrases as well, like burning desire. I didn't really notice any awkward grammar at all. No like ums or ahs or anything. And overall, everything tied together really well. And of course, his Chinese was great. And then for table topic speaker two, Michelle, I did not notice any awkward grammar, but I would suggest maybe focusing on a little more of powerful adjectives to describe your opinion. And that way it can make your speech even more powerful. And then as for William, who was the next table topic speaker, he had a great story and dialogue, and I did not notice any awkward grammar. And then for Alex, you used felicity so many times. The felicity I feel right now is so great because you used the word felicity so many times. And overall, no awkward grammar. And then for Rachel, she had a great speech as well. Did not notice anything much, maybe like one or two ums. And then for Ethan, I loved how he, for example, in his story, he said like not even one half, not even one third. And it was kind of like layers that build it up, which was great. And that had a very impactful effect. And then for speech evaluator one, who was also Ethan, I did notice just a couple of repeats, but they're very minor. And his phrase emanated an atmosphere befitting of a leader, sounded very academic indeed. And then as for Michelle, who was speech evaluator two, I did notice just a couple of small repeats, but overall, I would suggest maybe using some impactful vocabulary. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Claire, for that report. And we will be moving on to William's timer report.
I was about to start speaking with my mic still muted, so I'll have to quickly reset my timer. By the way, I am timing myself to see how outrageously over time I might go today. But I'll try to keep it within time limitations, which for me, I'm pretty sure is 1 minute. Ooh, wild ride. Here goes. Future leaders and distinguished guests, tonight we had a wonderful meeting filled with mostly perfectly timed speeches. So I'll just go down the list of all of our planned speakers and impromptu speakers today and give them a bit of feedback on their times. Starting off with Alex, your speech was 5 minutes and 33 seconds on a 5 to 7 minute scale. So that's right in the expected amount of time, though I could tell maybe you were trying to lengthen your speech just past the 5 minute length by kind of restating your points. That's not something that's not allowed, but maybe just add on even more to your call to action. But that's, of course, the job for your evaluator. Caleb, very thought-provoking speech. It lasted almost 9 minutes. It's a little over time, but given your message about perseverance and about finding resources, I think it was a worthy overtime speech. It strikes me with much felicity too that most of all our table topic speakers were well timed. Claire, table topic speaker 1, with a time of 2 minutes and 10 seconds. In the competition setting, you're only disqualified if you're over 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So technically that counts for a good time. Michelle had 1 minute and 15 seconds. I had 1 minute and 49 seconds. Alex had 1 minute 27 seconds, and Rachel had 1 minute and 30 seconds. Ethan's table topics speech ran slightly long at 3 minutes and 45 seconds, but I could tell that he was very wrapped up in his logarithms and his explanations about how all of these fashion brands can be very enticing sometimes, which I'm filled with felicity that you mentioned that, because I've never been much of a fashion guru myself either. Moving on to our speech evaluators. Both speech evaluations were a little under time, with actually Ethan and Michelle tied at 1 minute and 35 seconds exactly. The expected time is 2 to 3 minutes. So if you're able to provide some more feedback, maybe draw on some more areas of improvement and expand on specifics, how to improve on each one of your said points, that would be wonderful. And finally, for Claire, your augramarian report, due to the combination of counter and grammarian, I just combined the 1 minute portions for each and timed it as a table topic, and your time came out to be 2 minutes and 15 seconds, which in the framing of a table topic, that is also within the allotted time. And as for me, with a 1 minute time limit, I am now at 3 minutes. So I'll hand it back to our general evaluator, Rachel.
Thank you, William, for that timer report. I don't think the time was that bad. And I guess now it's time for me to give my general evaluation. Overall, I think the meeting, well, we're early actually, so that must mean that we definitely did something very right, because everything happens on time. I think Alex gave a really good speech that we all needed to hear about how laughter should be something that unites us, not divides us, and jokes should stay appropriate and not make fun of people's identity. And I think Caleb's speech was equally powerful, because were able to learn skills that'll help us not only learn languages, but maybe in other areas of our lives. And the table topics were fun, and we got to share about topics that sometimes we don't always cover, and it was very unique. And to follow the evaluations were very constructive, and the functionary reports were good too. Overall, I think that this was a pretty good meeting, and we're very early, so that is good. And as for final comments, I'm not sure I have any final comments. So I'm going to turn this control back to the president.
All right, thank you so much, Rachel, for your comments. Everything was very well said. And we are ahead of schedule, which is actually perfect, because tonight we're actually going to have a officer/organizational meeting. So that was maybe the last a little bit less than 20 minutes. So all of you are welcome to stick around and listen to the officer meeting and maybe even share your input. And of course, thank you to all our speakers today and table topics. Alex, great speech. That was very profound message. And Johnny, a great table topic session. Again, who knew that you could have such a deep and diverse table topic session talking about clothing? But thank you for bringing that idea, and we really took the idea and ran with it. Now, I would like to I have actually a special announcement. So there was a contest on Sunday, the USA Gavel Club's Table Topics competition. It is with much felicity that I share that William represented the FLGC in the contest, and William won first place for the contest. So William is going to go on to the International Table Topics competition next. I'm not sure when that's going to be held, but that's going to feature Cavaliers from, I think, pretty much all over the world, from India to the Middle East to Nepal to Sri Lanka to Canada, all over the world. It's going to be really fun, and it's going to be a great to watch. And I think technically the international contests are usually around 5 a.m. Pacific time, 7 a.m. Central time to accommodate everyone around the world. So when we have updates and information on that, we'll definitely let you know so everyone can come support William. But William, we're so proud of you and all your representation of the FLGC, and of course for winning first place. So thank you so much, William. Actually, William, if you wouldn't mind, would you like to share some tips or anything that would be beneficial to the members?
Yeah, so Caleb, I would actually like to speak a little bit on my experience. Yeah, but before I do, I just wanted to let everyone know that it just purely out of my heart, it would not have been possible for me to win first place without all of your support. And I truly mean that. I have spent 3.5 years now in Future Leaders Gavel Club, and I would have never pictured myself 3.5 years ago competing at the national level or competing at the North American level. And Future Leaders Gavel Club, you guys have all enabled me to do that. And I hope that Future Leaders Gavel Club means the same thing to you as it does to me. It's a positive and it's a supportive learning experience that people are all able to share their opinions, that people are all able to speak up and be heard and train their communication and self-confidence. And that's just so valuable in when you look at it in prospects, because as we march into this new generation, we are the people who are going to be determining the future. And whether that is through critical thinking with speech evaluations, through thinking off the bat and being able to craft a response in a few seconds, which is similar to table topics, or being able to structure an address or a speech so well and so finely that you're able to speak to an audience of thousands. That's really what this club is about. And wherever you are, whatever time it is for you, we are all so thankful that you're here joining us at this hour of a Wednesday evening. And I just wanted to say also that I think that our current officer slate is doing such a wonderful job of maintaining, but also improving the traditions of our Future Leaders Gavel Club. So please do give it up for them. Can we get some applause for all of them? In respect to my personal experiences in the contest and just general tips that uh, well, that I've had in terms of preparing myself for table topics is that you can't really prepare. You don't really have you don't really have the opportunity because they throw that question at you and then you're expected to give a 1 to 2 minute answer. That's very difficult. And I know because I started from not being able to say anything at all during those 1 to 2 minutes to being able to craft a response. So at least for me, my personal experience is that it usually turns out best if after the question is presented to you, you actually don't speak for a few seconds. So you'll just stay silent and you'll think. You really want to kind of in your mind draw out a general idea of what you're going to talk about. So in the contest that we had this past Sunday, the topic was actually a very long question. I don't think I answered all the parts of the question, but I think it was enough to convince the judges. The question was what everyone well, basically the background is that everyone has short and long term goals. What is one goal that you have for this coming year, and what are some steps you've taken to accomplish that goal? So I basically in the few seconds that I had before I started speaking, basically in competitions, in table topics competitions, your time doesn't start until you make a gesture or you make an audible noise. So you can basically bow your head, you can look down and not say anything for about 5 seconds ish, and then start talking. In those 5 seconds, you can really what if you have enough practice, really that's actually doesn't feel like very little time to think of your points and draw up kind of a very tentative structure. And the reason why I like table topics so much is because you're not confined to a structure. You can have that initial structure in your mind, but then you can change that structure. You can go with the flow and see where that takes you. And really that's my only advice for table topics. It's to go with the flow, but also have some tentative ideas in mind and just let loose and have fun.
Thank you, William, for sharing your tips. And I think hopefully they're going to have a video of the contest available. So as soon as that's available, we're going to share it with you, because William really did give a great response. He not only answered a question, but he really gave a message that's very important, especially in the times that we are living in. So thank you, William, for sharing your response. And hopefully everyone gets a chance to see the video when it's published, because I think you gave a great, very, very profound response. So thanks again for sharing that. All right. So remember to invite your friends to participate in the FLGC, because someone like William started out 3 years ago, not really knowing how to do anything, but just learning, and you just keep learning. It's really persistence. If you just keep coming, you're going to learn, and eventually you're going to be really amazed at how different you are because of that simple persistence. So keep coming, and also invite your friends. Now, before we officially adjourn the meeting, does anyone have any questions, comments, or feedback about the meeting tonight? If so, please open your mic and share your thoughts.
Hi, Caleb, President. Advisor Melissa hasn't coming back for a couple of for some time because she has been traveling and visiting family in China, but she came back today. So Melissa, if you are here, would you please provide some feedback? Because just like we parents, if we don't see a kid for a couple months, then we say, oh my gosh, the kid grows so fast, getting so much taller. So that may be an analogy of after some time, come back to the club and see the kids. And by the way, the kids really miss Kevin and Devin. They have been the role models and setting such a fabulous foundation and helped so many kids to grow into good speakers.
Thank you very much for oh, what was I want to say? I want to pick the right words. For encouraging for twins, and also thank you for your words to share. Let me to have a time to give some feedback. To be honest, I feel like everyone's so energetic. The voice from your mouth seems like you have a big microphone, not a microphone, right? It's a microphone, yeah. I just feel your voice is very charming. When William talk, when Caleb, when Rachel, Claire, everyone of you here, it's really, really attracting my ears. So amazing, just do it. And Caleb say, moving the mountain. And William's tips, congratulations, William, you won. It's incredible, amazing, you guys. I really feel, you are already leaders, not future leaders. So I'm so impressed by your talking, sharing, evaluating everyone's speeches. I just feel I should come here more often to listen to you guys, especially in the caliber. What your speech, inspire me. I should learn another language like Spanish. Through this journey, your life, your inner character or good traits, it has been changed. Through this journey, I can see you can do something big. You can do something great. Yeah, I feel like your future is couldn't imagine how big it is. Yeah, I just feel amazing. Public speaking is always first important things in your life, I think. The reason I want to join the speech a lot, I also encourage twins doing speech because I feel like speaking like eating a food. Every day you eating food, right? You eat food. And when we open mouth, we basically speak. So maybe you speaking time more than eating. So once you speak, what you speak, how your speaking words will impact other people's life. That's the reason I think speech is really, really important. I'm glad you guys doing well and also have consistency doing well. Congratulations, guys. Your future is already here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Advisor Melissa, for sharing that profound message. And also, we need to thank Advisor Melissa because she is actually the one who started this club. I actually had the privilege of speaking with Advisor Melissa in person in June, and I told her that 你是我们的俱乐部的妈妈 because she is the mother of the club, and through all her dedication through all these years is what has enabled us to achieve success and become leaders right now. So we really need to thank Advisor Melissa for all her hard work. So definitely keep joining us whenever you have a chance.
Yes, can I add one more? Especially for Ethan and William, you guys, applying college now. So you still, come to join. I just feel really admire you guys. Yeah. Thank you very much for such a great example for all of us. Back to you, Caleb.
All right. Thank you so much, Advisor Melissa. So if no one has anything else to say at 7:01 p.m. Pacific time, I'd like to adjourn this meeting and then we can go right into the officer meeting. All right. So if